The more you doubt yourself, the less dopamine your brain will create, because dopamine comes with the feeling of certainty. Dopamine is a chemical that's released as a driver for taking action because it perceives what it's doing is you get dopamine before you take a bite of cake. You get dopamine before you jump off a cliff. You get dopamine as a precursor to taking action. But your brain would never give you this dopamine if there wasn't a part of your brain that felt certain that a certain thing would occur. So if you are trying to work towards something and there's a ton of doubt and you're not sure if you're going to have this good experience, if you're not sure things are going to work out, the amount of dopamine your brain gets because you don't have this certainty is so much less. So if you want to create more dopamine, which is the driver to help you take action, you got to create this feeling of certainty for yourself. And you can do this in two ways, right? If you're having a hard time taking action, you could just really affirm, like, I'm gonna do great, it's gonna work out. But for me, that doesn't always work out because you don't know if things are gonna work out. So you can create certainty through another way. You can create certainty by helping your brain, instead of your brain associating this reward with the result of like taking action. For example, like if you have a goal you're trying to achieve and you're associating positive things with achieving the goal, that's not something always in your control. So this reduces your certainty, right? This reduces your certainty you're going to have the experience you want. And so what you can do instead is you can help your brain see the pleasure or associate dopamine with taking action. Help your brain associate dopamine with the attempt, because that is something you can always be certain over. That is something you can always be certain over because that's something always in your control. And so since you have more certainty, since now your dopamine's just associated with you're trying, you're attempting, you're taking action, which is something always in your control, your dopamine is going to increase. Because now your dopamine, you get it for simply trying, you get it for things inside of your control. So now you're controlling your chemical experience. You're controlling the amount of dopamine you're getting. There was a study done, I always reference this study, but with baseball players, and they found that the most successful baseball players, there was one thing that differentiated them from all the rest, and the most successful received a ton of dopamine simply for trying. Their brain received this chemical reward simply for making this attempt. So the more our brain gets rewarded for attempting, the more it's going to be wanting to take action. On the flip side, if our brain does something or takes an action and it perceives that our chemical needs won't be met, we won't get this chemical reward,